My name is Olivia Saracino, and the topic that we will be discussing is, should younger patients be made a priority to receive organs from organ donors? The factors that we will be discussing are clinical implications, challenges, pros and cons, who is most affected, and how it is related to healthcare. These factors will help prove each person's point of view.
So, should younger patients be a priority in organ donation? So, there's a lot of not only ethical implications to this, such as religion and all that other kind of stuff, of people who believe that a body should be preserved a certain way and not be dug into and used for any other purpose besides being preserved. But there's also a lot of clinical implications, such as it's not a matter of who can get the organ, it's who can get it when it's still viable. So a lot of the times an issue is an organ has to be used within a certain time frame of it being removed from the body. So certain people will get the organ, and even if they're not the perfect match for it, it'll be who's the best match and who can get that organ as long as it's still viable. So it's almost impossible to decide whether a younger person should get it or not. It ends up just being who can get the organ when it's viable.
In my opinion, younger patients should not be made a priority to receive organs during an organ transplant. My reasoning behind this is because the age should not be a factor of an organ recipient. Every life is precious and valuable, in which everyone should be given the equal amount of opportunity to live. The transplant should be dependent on a patient's situation and determining which patient needs it more. The challenges that go along with this question include, what is the cutoff age that determines a younger patient from an older patient? This leads to my question determining who is most affected. In order to know who gets an organs, a certain age would have to be distinguished. This can be controversial, however, because there are different interpretations of young and old. In a case where the cutoff age is 15, would a patient not be made a priority because the patient is 15 and a few months? Another challenge regarding this question is if the patient is younger and they are made priority, older patients would not be given the opportunity for organs because they would not be considered a younger category.
So the question our group chose is, should younger patients be made a priority for organs from organ donors? This question is related to healthcare because it's referring to pediatric patients and whether or not they should qualify for an organ before an adult does. The pros of this would be that the percentage of organ donation for pediatrics would increase, which means there'd be an increase in the survival rate for the children waiting for those organs. The cons of that are that the elderly people, or even the adults, anyone who's not in pediatrics, who desperately need those organs, won't receive it as quickly as they would if the children were not a priority. The challenges to answering this question are that there's no right or wrong answer. So there's an equal amount of pros and cons to it, which makes it kind of difficult to answer. But if this question was true, then children would be the most positively affected, whereas adults wouldn't be, and obviously vice versa. I agree with this statement because it's putting children first and making their health a priority, but I also disagree with it because in almost all situations, children are the number one priority. But when it comes to healthcare, the number one priority for organ donation would be to the one who's the most sickest and the most in need of the organ, not considering age or pediatrics or not pediatrics. It's usually the one who's the most sick and the one who needs the organ the most.
Our group chose the question, should younger patients be made a priority for organs from organ donors? I would agree that younger patients should be made priority for organs from donors. A younger patient would receive more use from the organ than an older person who may not have as long to live. I do not believe this would mean no older patients would be able to receive a transplant, but younger patients in need will have more use for the organs at a younger age. Under our current healthcare system, organ transplant teams consider who will receive the organ. Factors they consider are if the donor is a good match for you, the status of the patient's current health, how long you have been waiting for the organ, and the location of the organ according to where you are. Majority of the time, organs are on a first come, first served basis, meaning whoever is waiting longer will receive the organ first. I believe a factor our healthcare system should consider is the age of the patient and the life expectancy left. This will benefit the young receiving more transplants in order to live longer and healthier lives.
The question, should younger patients be made a priority for organs from organ donors, poses many challenges when deciding on an answer. A major challenge would be how to determine who is most deserving without involving emotions. Clearly, a situation like this strings along an emotional factor which can have a major impact on the decision. Another challenge is that there are not enough organs for everyone who is in need, so therefore this difficult decision needs to be made. Also, not everyone has access to an organ transplant due to economic factors or the lack of resources, leading to this decision becoming more of an economic issue rather than just a health issue. This then points to the answer that younger patients should take priority when receiving organs because it is a smarter investment. Younger patients will generally live longer than older patients, meaning that the organ will last longer as well, giving the organ a longer chance to work and benefit the patient. Think about when you're buying a car. Why would you buy a car you know has 200,000 miles on it already and won't last more than 2 years when you could buy a newer car with fewer miles that you know will last at least 10 years? So, why would you put a new organ in a body that will last 5 years rather than a body that will last 10? In this world today, money has taken over and all resources are limited, so every decision needs to be made separate from emotional factors, since not everyone's feelings can be considered and catered to. Overall, I believe that younger patients should be made a priority when receiving organs from organ donors in order to utilize the organ to its full capacity.